themed ones. A really comfortable Star Wars one, and like a Mario Brothers one. I think that's more of like a
nice.
jacket cardigan that I really like.
I have one ugly sweater, and I left it with my family in Kentucky, so I don't have one now.
That's a shame.
I have one, and it's a Philadelphia Eagles one. It's my one reminder of where I grew up.
My son really wanted one, and he finally found a ugly Spider-Man one this year at GameStop. So he bought that, but it's like 3 sizes too big. So it just like flops off of him. Like
he'll grow into it, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
There's the Lord of the Rings one I really want. That's the boil and mash and put them in a stew. Potatoes.
Oh.
I really want that one. And there's some like really dumb Excel themed ones. As like a project manager producer who lives a lot in Excel, I kind of want, but
I do love a spreadsheet. Josh had something yesterday in the Pirate Software stream about not needing spreadsheets for a game, and I was a little like
incorrect.
Oh, yeah. It depends on.
I mean, you didn't have spreadsheets until I got here, but that narrative team, they're gonna have so many spreadsheets on the DLC.
Hey, as long as it's not player facing, it's fine.
Hey, spreadsheet the game is fun.
Hey, I'm not opposed to spreadsheet games. Like I've been playing.
I was gonna say you play Paradox games. You play spreadsheets the games.
I enjoy spreadsheet games. What is it? What is that? Dead Frontier 1, like the online version. Like that's like I had spreadsheets for all the market prices and trying to hedge the economy. Just
that's crazy.
When Dark Souls first came out, the QA team at BioWare got, or not Dark Souls, Demon Souls. When that first came out, the QA team at BioWare got like super into it, and they turned it into spreadsheets. The game, they had so many spreadsheets for like tracking like weapon stats and level stats and like different play styles and like different runs that people were doing. Like the amount that they like spreadsheeted that game to death was insane. That was the first time I had seen someone kind of spreadsheet a game to oblivion. And it was a weird choice to do with Demon Souls.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't use spreadsheets, but occasionally on certain games I'll open up my notes app and just be like, don't forget to go back to this place, you know? Especially in like Expedition 33. That game did not give you any guides. So like half the time you'd go to a new island and like you would half beat it because the boss was too hard, and then you'd have to remember, okay, I got to go back to this very specific, weirdly named place.
Yeah, my wife is a teacher, and she would use tables for a lot of stuff. Like she teaches grade 4, and she would use tables, but she would make just like a table in a Word document or in a PowerPoint or a Google Slide or Canva. And then just like structure her tables that way for like actual data tracking for like marks and stuff like that.
Oh,
and for the longest time, I was like, no, why? Why are you doing this? You're making me cry. So I just sit down with her and I taught her how to use like a table in Google Sheets. And I was like, oh, you can color code it. You can have conditional formatting. So like if a kid's got like a 3 out of 5 instead of a 5 out of 5, it shows up as a different color. Like, you can data track in all these different ways. And it was like...
Probably the most recent game with using spreadsheets is Stardew Valley to maximize my coffee production.
Oh my god!
Yep.
I still haven't played it.
You haven't played Stardew Valley?
No, I've
like
downloaded.
What if Farmville was like a conversational BioWare game, or like a game like ours?
Interesting. Yeah, I've been wanting to dive in, but I just know it's kind of a time suck. So.
It is a time suck, but it's quite relaxing and enjoyable to do. Like I'll turn on just Stardew Valley music, just background, because it's so nice.
Yeah,
Stardew Valley, The Sims is another good one. Like SimCity, good background like work music.
A game that I just started playing as kind of like my chill out game is Skate, the new Skate that's like free to play.
Skate,
yeah. That's pretty fun. It feels really good. What is this?
There we go.
Getting started on my Stardew Valley. Well, I'm about 20% in on a cross stitch.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is great.
My first cross stitch ever. We're having a good
Oh,
time.
that's cool. That is something I remember being younger and just thinking that's so cool. I never like learned how to do it though. I know
It's
that's
so
really
easy,
time
which is why
consuming.
I've been loving it.
Mm.
Yeah, it does take a ton of time, but it's a hobby that anyone can pick up. You
Mm.
just go in, come back out, go in,
Oh,
come
okay.
back out, follow the pattern. And I'm using a pattern app. So I can
Oh,
just like bloop, bloop, bloop. I've done ABC. Lynn, this is the first time Lynn has joined us.
welcome,
Hello,
Lynn.
Lynn.
Lynn engages with us a lot
Hello.
on Blue Sky.
Ah, nice. Welcome in. Yeah, we're kind of just chatting before we like officially start. We're talking about like new games we've been playing and stuff. Yeah, has anyone else been playing any? And yeah, you're
I was
welcome,
showing off
Stardew.
my Stardew Valley cross stitch, first cross stitch ever that I just started. So we're
I
having
have been
fun.
playing something. What was it?
For me, it's I'm planning on diving pretty deep into Baldur's Gate over the holidays.
Oh,
I just picked that
nice,
back up.
nice. That's another one too that I've been wanting to play. I just haven't started it yet. Over Black Friday there was a ton of sales, so I picked up like a ton of games. I picked up Super Mario RPG, the like remaster. I've been playing that on Switch. I picked up the Demon Souls remake. I picked up what is it called? The one with the mechs. Uh, that's also
MechWarrior?
by no from it's by FromSoft.
Oh, Armored Core.
Armored Core, the new Armored Core game, because that looks really cool.
That's fun. I'm not big into the Souls games, but I
Mm,
love me some Armored Core.
nice. Yeah.
It's hard. It is like stupid hard, but I
Is
love
it?
it.
Oh man. Yeah, I can get into the Souls games. I've been playing Lies of P also.
Mm-hmm.
That one is sick. I love the aesthetic, and I love that they're just like, yeah, you're playing as Pinocchio and you're just gonna deal with it.
The only
Yeah,
Souls game I really got into was the Star Wars ones. Was like the Jedi series,
Mm,
Fallen Order and Survivor. Um, I really love those. And I should every part of like Bloodborne I should love. Like I love the aesthetic of
mm-hmm.
Bloodborne. The story of Bloodborne is really cool, but like I've never hit the time. And then when you play a Souls game, everyone says it's like 6 to 10 hours, somewhere in that window. Like you get that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
I've never got the aha moment. It's never clicked with me. I get why people really like it, and for all intents and purposes, I should really like it because I love boss rush modes and like hard games like that. But
I think
the
you
animation timing and just kind of the general jank and the gameplay being the jank has never really meshed with me.
Yeah, for me it was like I had a couple friends that we kind of all like traded tips, and then it's like once you sort of get the gist of one of them, you can kind of dive into any of them and be like relatively good at, because you understand like it's mostly about rolling behind the big bosses so they can't hit you, specking into if you're a sword guy, you spec into strength. If you're a magic guy, you spec into magic, and that's kind of just what you do to get really strong and overpowered. But you go and you play a game like Sekiro, and there's no like overpowering bosses. It's completely about timing. So for me, that was the hardest game I've ever played personally. I don't know if you guys
I
have
actually
played
really
that
dig.
one.
I always forget about Sekiro, but I did also really like Sekiro. Remind me a lot of like Tenchu, and maybe the theming just helped me get around it. But it also didn't, because it felt more like an action game. It felt more responsive
Mm,
than the traditional Souls games, especially like Dark Souls. I think that helped me get into it a little bit more, which is also probably why I like Armored Core,
mm.
because what they've done with Armored Core 6 is basically like injected it with the Souls formula. Um, and it works really well in the context of that game. Um, so yeah, that's probably, and like Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order kind of fall into a similar category of like just they feel more responsive, so I probably dig them more because of that.
Yeah.
See, for Souls games, I never played them. I've gotten more enjoyment by watching other people play
Mm,
them. So, like, I'll be doing my thing, working on my project, and I'll just watch people play through, like, Dark Souls or Elden Ring. Versus, I mean, I have them, but I just haven't really gotten far. Versus, like, my brother, who's like beaten Elden Ring like 10 times.
oh man, that's
It,
hardcore. So I don't even know what kind of gamer you are, Josh. Are you more cozy gamer kind of person too?
I'm kind of all over the place.
Okay.
Like when it comes to games, probably my focus is like RTS or grand strategy. So like Age of Empires, Company of Heroes, Gates of Hell. Like a lot, like I'd say a majority of the games that I play are like tend to be historical focused. So like I'll play the super tedious U-boat simulator game until I'm just like, this is too much. But I play Stardew Valley. Lately, it's been Age of Empires 2. But then also I'll do narrative games. I just got into Become Human Detroit. And that was great. Like I was actually playing in a Discord at the time, just playing through it, and it ended up sparking like a 4-hour conversation about AI, sentience, and consciousness.
That's sick.
But yeah, I'm all over the place when it comes to games.
Nice. And Gina, I know you're a bit more of a cozy gamer. Have you ever dove into any of the Souls games?
No, I haven't gotten into any of the Soul stuff. Not necessarily because I wouldn't like it, just because I haven't tried yet. I didn't actually start playing very many games until I was an adult. So I really started off with a lot of co-op stuff that was sort of easy entry, which was, Astroneer, Stardew Valley. I enjoyed Deep Rock Galactic, Don't Starve Together, some stuff like that. Really love a good co-op. But yeah, I have
Have
been
you played Core
years
Keeper or
into like
Necess?
oh my God.
No, what is
Court Keeper what?
Core Keeper or Necess?
Oh, Core Keeper, yes. A lot of Core Keeper, especially this year.
Yeah, I figured like
Um,
if you did Stardew Valley, you definitely are playing Core Keeper.
yeah. Had a lot of time there. And then the uh some of the Zelda games more recently.
nice.
It's
Did you ever
kind of
play It Takes Two? If you like co-op games,
Yes, yeah. I played that with
Love
my
It Takes Two.
husband
I
over the
have a love-hate
holidays.
relationship with It Takes Two because I love the game, but one of the characters you play as, his name is Cody, who gets yelled at throughout the entire game.
That's amazing.
Just like berated and
The
yelled at, and I
the
relate a lot to
immersion,
that, and I hated it every moment of it.
the immersion is too deep.
Okay,
The immersion is too real.
I've got kind of like a fourth wall breaking thing too about similar to that. So they just had the Game Awards and they just showed off the new trailer for Resident Evil Requiem, right? And the main character's name is Grace, and Leon is gonna be the other protagonist. He's like one of the OG protagonists, and my wife's name is Grace, and my son's name is Leon. So I saw that, like, this is bizarre. So that was funny.
I love that Resident Evil 9 is like requiring me to go back and play Resident Evil Outbreak, like the old online PS2 games, or at least like watch a video on them. Because I haven't played those since like they first came out. And I remember they first came out, I really, really loved them because they were like super unique online experiences. Which I feel like when I look back at the PS2's online library, like
Final Fantasy 11
like now, but back
online.
in the day, like those were games that like didn't have online modes like anyone else. Like you couldn't play those kinds of games on PC as much, or Xbox like was more focused on FPSs. But like SOCOM, Resident Evil Outbreak, stuff like that, I really dug.
Yeah, didn't
PC
you
for
have
me
to
back
get
then.
like that big like connector thing in the back of the PS2?
Yeah, there was
Right?
two ways. If you had a PS2 Slim, it was built in.
Okay.
If you had a fat one, you
Yeah.
had to get either the network adapter, which plugged into the hard drive slot,
Mm-hmm.
or you could get the one that came with Final Fantasy 11, I think, and it came with the
think
hard
that's
drive,
what I had. Yeah.
which then made modding the PS2 super easy afterwards.
It's so funny.
Because you could basically just stick a hard drive in there and then do whatever you wanted with it.
That's crazy how things have changed.
I remember when I was in school, my computer broke down shortly after I moved to Vancouver to go to school. And it took a while for like Dell to ship me new computers. My parents ordered me, instead of letting me like make my own again, they shipped me one from Dell. And while I was waiting like a month for it to show up, I had to turn my PlayStation 3 because I had gotten a launch PS3, but you could put Linux on it. And I had to install Linux on my PS3, so I had access to like a word processor and spreadsheets and a whole bunch of other stuff that I needed for school. So I was using my PS3 as a computer.
That's crazy.
from like early 2007, like January 2007 to like March 2007. My computer was a PS3, and I thought that was always like the dumbest like street cred thing that I had on all the game design kids was like computers. Get real, guys. Use a PlayStation.
Well, that thing was like $700 when it came out, so
I ate a lot of cheese strings and ramen and macaroni and cheese.
Okay.
No, I'm Canadian, so KD. So I ate a lot of KD.
So I don't have that many regrets in my life, but one of the biggest regrets I have is in order to buy a PS3, I sold all of my old Nintendo consoles, all of my old Nintendo games, and I put it towards a PS3. And looking back, I'm like, oh, what was I doing? So now as an adult, I'm like going back to retro game stores and like trying to rebuild my old collection again.
I'm like slowly trying to collect like a complete North American N64 collection.
Wow.
Like not super seriously, but like if I see a cheap N64 game that I don't have, I will definitely have.
Where are you finding any cheap N64 games?
A lot of people like Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of people who just like are cleaning out like closets from when they were kids and like just don't care. Just like truly don't care. So like retro game stores aren't the best,
Gina,
but like people just selling stuff on like their own are a little bit better. My crowning piece for my N64 collection is like I have a brand new in-box Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh,
and outside of like whatever the Blockbuster exclusive Clay Fighter one is, like that's about as good as it gets for the N64.
Nice.
So.
That's pretty sweet.
I was saying the people selling their N64 games are the ones trying to buy the latest Switch.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Well, yeah, we were chatting about like we want to get a Switch 2 for Christmas, and like we'll get a Switch 2 eventually. But it's just like my son doesn't play. Like we have a ton of games. Like he's got tons of games on the Switch. We were generally like our main go-to is our PS5, I would say. So like he's got games on the Switch that he's never played. Like he got the Super Mario RPG remake for his birthday last year, and Paper Mario, and Scribblenauts, and Mario Maker, and we've got all the Zeldas and Fire Emblems, et cetera, but like truly all it is at this point is a Fire Emblem machine for my wife because it's her favorite series, so she plays to death, like just the crap out of Fire Emblem Three Houses, and less or so Engage, or as she calls it, Colgate, because its color scheme is like Colgate toothpaste.
That's funny.
So yeah, she never like those are the games that she plays periodically. One of us will fire up Zelda. I've tried to get my kid to play Zelda a few times, and like I think this is kind of my like current day critique of Nintendo. Having watched my son play and like having gotten him to like I started him at the NES and we worked our way up before I let him play like a PlayStation. At the time, 4 or 5 or anything else like that. He had started in Nintendo, and then every year he got the next gen as it moved up.
That's fun.
So he had an appreciation for where we came from.
Yeah.
Also, like just the controls are a lot simpler.
Yeah.
We hung out on the Super Nintendo for a really long time because like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or like fighting games were really good for him because he could just push buttons and things would happen, and it really taught him like hand-eye coordination. Like I hit this button, a punch happens. So if I know I hit this button, like this thing will keep happening. And he's just like he's. I don't even know where I was going with this conversation anymore.
You were talking about him playing Zelda games, and he wasn't.
Oh right, Zelda. His room. So I've never. I don't think I've shown anyone in the company this, but in my old house, I had before he was born. I decorated his room out in Wind Waker theming.
That's awesome.
It's like I painted like a giant mural on the wall of like Link and the King of Red Lions like crashing through the waves in like the cell shaded style. We had like a big Mount Doom on another wall, clouds and like the perfect little like white triangle waves coming up through the water, and I did like multi-tones of blue to like really emulate the look of the game. I should see if I'll dig out a video of it to share with the studio, but I won several contests with Nintendo for that bedroom.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, that's I won cool. Like a big prize pack from them right around when the Switch 1 came out.
Oh, I'm very interested in seeing
And then I won like a Video Games Live, like the touring musical show by Tommy Tallarico. I won a contest with them. They got me like VIP tickets and a bunch of other swag and loot and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's sick.
Please share.
wants-
I would like
yeah,
to see
right?
that.
Yeah, when we move again, he wants a new room like that, but now he wants in Spider-Man, and I'm not looking forward to it because I think drawing Spider-Man or painting Spider-Man is the biggest pain in the butt. So
All the webbing, right?
all those webs
Yeah.
and like the detail, no thank you. So I'm not looking forward to it.
Did you get to your critique of Nintendo games?
Oh right, that was what I was after. Right. So Nintendo. After watching my kid like really gravitate towards like especially like the first party PlayStation games or games that feature a lot of VO and a lot of like guidance, I think a lot of the times we look at Nintendo games and we look at them as like really kid friendly, but there's a lot of reading involved. And they don't do a lot of like voiceover or a lot of guidance to the player outside of just like self-exploration, which I think is fine and really appeals to like a specific type of player. Like we talked about this the other day with like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like being open sandboxes you can get lost in, and that's perfectly okay. But if you're a more goal-driven or narrative-driven player, those aren't necessarily always like the best playing fields to play in. It's like watching him play through trying to get him into like a Mario game was really hard when he was younger because Mario, especially the 3D Marios, required a lot of instruction on like how to use the controls, like how do you do the triple jump, how do you do the butt stomp, how do you do this, how do you do that. And because they don't use voiceover at all to even like guide the player on what to do, he would get stuck quite frequently just trying to figure out the next step of the tutorial. Whereas like if I were to hand him, it was like really startling then to like hand him the controller to play like the Insomniac Spider-Man games or Ratchet and Clank, where there's still a lot of text on the screen, but Spider-Man is sitting there constantly reinforcing what he's supposed to do. And I know that drives some players insane with like, I know God of War was really bad with this with the puzzles where Atreus would just like constantly spout off the solutions.
Yeah.
Or Mimir would do that. But like the Spider-Man games of Ratchet and Clank, like they're telling the player, like they're guiding, like, oh, I need to think about like X, Y, or Z, or they're a little bit like less heavy-handed, but they're also telling the players like how to play the game. Like, oh, I need to like web this guy up to the floor or to the ceiling so he doesn't escape or stuff like that. And he picked up those much more complex games in terms of like onboarding way faster than he ever picked up anything by Nintendo.
That's interesting.
So I've got like this really weird like, and like I always joke that it always feels like Nintendo's stuck in the past, and then they try to modernize and catch up, but they have to do it in their own way. And I feel like Nintendo's at that spot now with a lot of their games where their core gameplay systems and mechanics are super, super fun, and I really, really like them. But I feel like their onboarding and how they bring players into their worlds, they're still kind of stuck in the past a little bit. And I know there's a big player base that really, really likes that, but I do think more modern audiences are kind of getting left behind because of that. Like players like me or who are more established who grew up with these types of games, I think we're cool and we're good with it. And then we'll just like coach and get our kids through it as well too, through like attrition. But I feel like there's better ways to get kids into those ecosystems and into those worlds and really invested in those worlds in a better way than their approach right now. Like kids love Mario, like the Mario movie, Mario toys, cartoons, the games. But like I feel like the games are the least popular part about Mario right now, and that feels backwards to me.
I think it's also just purely because they haven't really had too many Mario games recently, except for Mario Wonder, right? Which I feel like a game like that, though, in terms of kid friendly, like you're kind of just moving and jumping essentially, right? Like I know there's more to it than that, but I mean stuff like that I would say is kid friendly. Mario Kart also, it's like there's not a lot going on. But yeah, I know what you mean in terms of the bigger franchises. Like you throw a 5-year-old the controls for Zelda Breath of the Wild, they're gonna be like, what the heck am I supposed to do? You know?
And it's difficult too. Like Breath of the Wild is hard.
Yeah. But at the same time, they had Link's. Well, I guess too that has a lot of instruction. But Link's Awakening remaster and what was the other one where you play as Zelda? Those were a little bit more like top down, kind of user friendly,
old school style.
Yeah.
Basically playing a Super Nintendo with a sheet of really cute, adorable claymation 3D on top of it.
Yeah, the style for those games was some of my favorite
I love
Nintendo's
it.
put out in a very, very long time. Those games were beautiful looking.
I love Nintendo's art style and how they can push their hardware as good as they do with like what is objectively a really simple style, but like it just oozes personality. I'll take a game that oozes personality over something that doesn't, like that just goes for like photorealism or, um, more in that direction kind of any day of the week.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think.
In our chat,
Oh yeah, go
yeah,
ahead,
I was just
Gina.
going to say, Bayaro said they used to play Paper Mario on the N64 before they learned to read, and it basically taught them how to read.
Mm-hmm. A lot of games did that.
Yeah, Lynn also shared it's a similar problem to TTRPGs, where for decades the best way to learn has been being taught by someone who already knew. The books were very helpful.
Yeah, I think in the TTRPG world, the best thing about 5th edition, like if you want to talk about like D&D specifically, 5th edition made it very approachable from a player point of view. I do think like the onboarding to like learn how to be a DM is not great. Like the Dungeon Master's Guide is
you learn from being with other DMs and observing what you like and don't like.
You have to start it, like D&D is really structured. You have to start as a player and then like absorb how to be a good DM through osmosis. And that's where like people always complain about like the Matt Mercer effect or the Brendan Lee Mulligan effect. Like you watch the live plays like Critical Role or D20 or Acquisitions Inc. and you feel like you need to be them. Like they're such good DMs with all their like own unique individual styles, but you feel like you need to emulate that because that's what your players expect, and that makes being a DM really hard.
Yeah, that's one of those games that like I wish I knew how to play. I played once with a group of people, but they were not very helpful in terms of like what you can really do. They're like, and then you did, and then I'm like, what can I do? They're like, you can do anything, and I'm like, what does that mean? Are there rules to this game? It's very abstract, I think, until you kind of like get the storytelling, I don't know, aspect of it.
An RPG party, like or tabletop, the group you're with and the DM you're with, like, will make or break your experience ultimately.
Yeah, it's very much. I always say D&D is you get as much out of D&D or any TTRPG as you put into it. So if like I've played with groups where like my main group, we all got really into the role play. We love the combat. We love the tactics. We would play with like minis and battle maps or digital versions of those. And we all got super, super into it. And it was a lot of fun. And then we would play, I would have another group I had one other group that I played with a bunch of ex-coworkers from BioWare. And they were, ironically, less into the RP side of things and much more into like the combat. So we would do very combat-driven campaigns and stuff like that we would run through. And we would just blast through the content, comparatively speaking. But like, that was what they were there for, was like that tactical combat, and they just got really into it. They didn't really care about the RP. They would struggle with the RP. I think none of them necessarily felt super safe in like properly role playing their characters. They would always just kind of play like a flavor tinted version of themselves as the character, which is perfectly fine. But if you really want to be like, if you're like a big 6'6" bodybuilder type person who's playing as like a little halfling wizard, unless you feel like super comfortable with the group that you're in, you're not gonna like really necessarily role play the 2'8" halfling wizard the way that maybe you envisioned him, and he's just gonna kind of come off as a weird version of yourself.
See, the thing that's always like kind of bugged me about it is if you want to play with a small group, one person is the DM, and then it's kind of like I know they're playing, and I know it's extremely important, but it's not like you could just get 3 people together and just all play kind of on the same playing field. You need that extra person to manage the game, which is kind of weird.
I mean, I've run campaigns, so I primarily run the campaigns. I'm rarely a player, so I'm the DM. I've done a campaign with 2 people. I've done a campaign with 1 person, which was quite interesting. But I would say, yeah, for me, it's like 4, 5 is like tops that I'll do for a group, because any more than that, then it just gets overcomplicated and scheduling is a nightmare.
Yeah. Scheduling's the hardest part about D&D.
Have you
Hands
done
down.
a Warhammer RPG? Because that's primarily what I do is Warhammer Fantasy RPG.
No, that's
I
another
used to
one.
play
Yeah. Go ahead.
40k. Oh, sorry, Nick, for interrupting.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was just gonna say I used to play 40k when I lived in Vancouver, and then when I moved back, I could only take what I could fit in like a 2008 Ford Taurus that I rented for a one-way trip from Vancouver to Edmonton. So I left my Warhammer behind, and in the approximately 8 months between when I had moved out and when I came back to visit the next time, my old roommates had just assumed that I didn't want my $1,000 or
Oh
multiple thousands of
no!
dollars of Warhammer anymore, and they assimilated my Black Templar army and my Tau army into their own. So like bits broken off. They just like took the minis and just like either repainted them or like literally ripped pieces off of them. They could attach to their own
No.
stuff.
That's horrible.
Just like demolished my.
And how's your current friendship with them?
Decent. One of them is a senior producer over at Relic right now. He's working on Company of Heroes 3, so I talk with him a decent amount. Another one who used to be one of my best friends moved to Ontario and just like cut off all contact with any of his Alberta friends. So like trying to get a hold of him is a pain. And then the other one lives in Halifax and is very similar, where he just like doesn't talk to any of the Vancouver people anymore. But I was upset.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's another one of those ones where I feel like I've missed out on a lot of those physical games growing up. I just played so many video games, and I didn't have those other friends that were willing to sit there and like read stuff for long periods of time, you know. But I feel like, especially as I'm older and as I'm on the computer like all day long, I'm kind of like yearning to play those kinds of games more, because it's like you're still playing a game that's fantasy, but you're not having to stare at a freaking monitor, you know, to play it.
I actually didn't get into video games until I was like 19.
Really?
Like 1920 was
What
when I
got
first
you into
like got
them?
my first laptop. I mean, I've always wanted to do video games, but just kind of the culture and the way I grew up, it was very in the country, very like middle of nowhere in Montana. So didn't have a computer, didn't have a PlayStation or Nintendo or any of that stuff. So I didn't start like dipping my toe into like video games like officially until my very late teens, early 20s.
So were you playing like any of those physical games beforehand, or
Board games
okay?
was my thing growing up. Very occasionally, like there was this super, I forget what it was, which computer it was, but it was this very old computer that was like in the barn, and I'd go there and play. I think it was AOE 1, like, and that was the game that I played occasionally
Wow,
growing up.
that's amazing. So when you got into games when you were like 19, what did you kind of start with?
Civilization.
Okay, okay, that was kind of
Cool
your
choice.
in. Gotcha.
Yep, Civilization was my in.
That's cool. Yeah, it's also
I
still
like.
one I haven't played.
I've been
A
playing games for as
Civilization.
long as I can remember. Like
Oh,
some of my
same
first
here.
memories are like playing Mario 3 on like the NES or Duck Hunt and stuff like that. I remember we moved from like one small town outside of Edmonton to another, and when we moved, my parents got me a Genesis, and then like I remember my first Easter bunny hunt at that house. I found my basket had like Donald Duck's quack shot in it. So like my dad was my dad was a truck driver and like a biker, but like he had at his heart he was a big nerd. He was big into tech at the time. It's like he loved video games. He loved playing video games with me. It's like I always grew up with like a Sega or a Nintendo or Super Nintendo. I remember when the PlayStation came out, he sold our Genesis and Super Nintendo to get the PlayStation 1. Then I got an N64 for Christmas and a PS2 eventually. So they've been in my life for the whole time. But like I remember I made Dwayne feel super old when I was interviewing, and probably a mistake, but I made him feel super duper old. I remember getting our first like Windows 3.1 computer, and in like 94, 95, and playing the ever-loving crap out of the Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 shareware demos that we had on floppy disk. We got on like a PC Gamer. And I
Nice.
would have been like 94, 95. I would have been 7, 6, 7, or 8, somewhere in that window.
Hmm.
But like just absolutely falling in love with Warcraft and just like playing the ever loving crap out of these games, and then them being like the core reason why I got into game dev. When I didn't think I really had a future in movies when I was in school, or my school didn't offer the film courses that I wanted. And I moved into games. It was like, oh, I love playing Warcraft 2. I love making maps for it and StarCraft and stuff like that. I'm gonna play those. And then finding out that Dwayne was one of the folks responsible for like early day Blizzard and making Warcraft 1 and 2 and the cinematics and those things that I had watched to death growing up.
Crazy, right?
Making it feel nice and old.
So Gina, you got into games later in life too. I forget if you told us this already, but what did you kind of start with?
I didn't get into games really until I got married in my mid-20s. I did have an NES as a kid. There was this Barbie game that I super loved and couldn't play very well, but my brother would take the controller from me and make sure I got through. And some Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the original PlayStation, even before it was called the PlayStation 1, just the original PlayStation, the big one. But then when I really started getting into games, it was, like I was saying before, some of those co-op games, like Don't Starve Together, Terraria, Stardew, Astroneer, stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny. We all kind of have like these different tastes, and this actually is a good segue into actually talking about our game. But I think it could be interesting to kind of dive into, because we have like a very specific genre of game. Like, what kind of player do you guys feel like would dig our game? Maybe Josh could be good to talk about this.
With our game, we touch on quite a few things that different types of players would appreciate. So I'd say, first of all, because probably the most work has gone into that, the historical player, people who enjoy history and the ties to history, the narrative and the references towards actual historical figures or historical events, everything from, in the interview the other day, the bootleg turn for our vehicle maneuver, I didn't even know was an actual historical connection, and I looked that up and was like, oh wow, okay, another level of appreciation for just like how paying attention the team spends. So the historical player, people who enjoy that. Then the cozy gamer, if we have features that allow for, like, we do have combat, but you can reduce the difficulty of combat. And I've even talked with our company owner, where even having an auto combat as something we have later down the road for people who just, they're not fans of the turn-based, but they really enjoy the story and going through the progression. So just having like potentially down the road like an auto combat, so you don't have to deal with that. But we do want to have usability options for the player to decide. So the cozy player, because you have the auto play for the narrative, you can just listen to the story. You don't even have to necessarily be at your computer or device at all times, so you can just listen to the story. Then for the players who want more of a challenge, so the tactical turn-based strategy players, you can amp up the difficulty on combat, different difficulty settings, and it can be that kind of challenge for you. And it's the inventory management, it's the putting the right points into your skill tree, it is making sure that your vehicles are equipped and you have the right crew members for the combats. And there are some combats that can be quite challenging that you need to prep for. So it definitely hits home for a few different types of players that wouldn't necessarily overlap otherwise. And I mean, for me as a player, I kind of hit into those different categories. Like, I do enjoy a slower paced game, but I also enjoy games that are Stellaris or Hearts of Iron. So like it depends. But we hit the cozy gamer, the hardcore turn-based tactical gamer, and then also that kind of mid-core gamer as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because there's definitely a bunch of crosses in genre, and I think for a game like this too, like I'm the type of gamer where I play a ton of different kind of stuff, and it's more of like a
Mhm.
mood thing. So
Very much so.
yeah, for this kind of game, it's like you got to get into the mood to just like sit and get like enveloped in the music and the storytelling, and then that like sudden, combat scenario where you got to be kind of on your toes. But it is nice that even though you have to be on your toes and like be thinking, it's still turn based. So there is still, you were talking about that a couple episodes I think ago, Josh, where you were talking about your friend that was like, oh, I thought I needed to like be quick with
Where's
this,
the
but
pause button? Where's the
yeah,
pause
where's the
button?
pause
I'm just like,
button?
no, don't worry about it. It's turn based. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
good.
So it's nice in that respect where it's like if you're in the like mood to just kind of like chill out and like get into a cool unique world, like that's I think the vibe for this kind of game. Almost more so than the type of gamer, because there's like a cross between
That
so
is
many
very
genres.
true. It actually that kind of that hits very true for like all the games that I play. It very
Mm,
much comes down to the mood. Like, what mood am I in? And like, do I want to play like 1920s, 30s? Then I'll go play Mafia. I'll go play what is it? There's another one. It's like a city management, Sins of Empire of Sin, I think,
mm,
but it's more of the like mood of games that I'm wanting to play. So like if I'm into a pirate mood, like I'll
mhm.
go play all the different pirate games from Tropico 2 to
Have you played
what is
Black
that?
Flag, Assassin's Creed Black
I
Flag?
have played Black
Yeah,
Flag. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
yeah.
So with our game, it's definitely crossing genres when it comes to the type of player that would be interested. So if you want something that's more um, hyped or a little more adrenaline with that like turn based, and you have to really think about your moves and how you're going to equip your crews and vehicles, like you can do that, or you can be more relaxed, but the theme is still there, the theme of Aether and Iron.
Hmm.
You have the music, you have the characters, the voices, the world and the setting.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially as more of the music has come in, I think I talked about this too recently, but like I hadn't played for a little while until we got one of these updates to test out, and hearing the music now in the context of the world is like it meshes so perfectly. So yeah, it's
I'm
like
excited for whenever a new like soundtrack drops and I get to listen to it.
yep, yep. Yeah, for me it's like you get your tea, you sit down and you just like kind of chill out kind of thing. And it's one of those games too that I've noticed where you're playing and before you know it like 3 hours has passed and you're just like, "Whoa." It's like when you're reading a good book and you just like get sucked in, which is
Yeah, those are the
cool.
games that I love and hate. I hate that I love it so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I really identify with that, Nick, because when Josh and I were at, I think, Gamescom,
Mm.
I made a comment, something about like the amount of time that we have in the demo. And I was like, oh, it's only like this many hours. He's like, no, it's like, it was like 4 times that. And I was like,
Yeah.
really? I played through all of it. There's no way. I went back, checked my Steam hours, and I was just a little bit blown away at how long I'd spent over the past, the previous days on it. And I just checked Steam is doing their, wrap up thing that everyone does now. And like Aether and Iron is still among my top played games of this year, even after like 60 sessions of Core Keeper. I think it was like one less of Aether and Iron. It's like, how did this happen? I don't even. But it was really fun, and I've been enjoying it. And I guess kind of to stay on the theme of our game. A question that we get sometimes is about the endings, and of course, we have a game with branching narratives. And Josh, can you talk a little bit about are there different endings to the game?
There are different
I haven't play
endings.
tested that far.
Yeah, so are there different endings? Yes, there are different endings. Depending on some of the decisions that you make with different crew members or decisions within the world, it does impact kind of the wrap up of endings that will occur at the end of the game.
Nice.
It's cool. So each path sort of terminates on its own.
Yes.
I just had a tangent thought because you were talking about the timing, and what I've noticed being a dev is like you kind of always you don't want to like be like our game's 100-hour long game kind of thing, obviously, but you also usually completely underestimate how long your game is until people start playing it, because you know everything. You know how to just blow through
Our
the
game
game.
has been grossly underestimated when it
Yes.
came to the number of hours. So originally it was going to be like a 10 to 12 hour game.
It's not. It's not.
It is very much not. It is like twice that. If you're the type of player that is going to listen to the dialogue, the voices, and you're not just going to be skipping through quickly, and then also the combats, like we're definitely hitting well over 20 plus hours when it comes to our game. And that was not originally expected to be at that scope. But I mean, it's more content, it's more story.
Well,
It's
what do you
more to
expect with
explore.
380,000 words in the script?
I mean, writers love to write, and they put a lot of effort, work, and passion into it. So,
Also, even since I joined earlier in the year, I know they've included way more combat scenarios, which I also think gave more like
yes.
depth to the game, and that was something that I appreciated too. So,
Yeah, I still need to do, I guess, a final conclusion, like assessment of like what is actually the final, because I don't have an exact number on like
Yeah.
where our game ends as far as like how much time it takes to complete the game. But once QA finishes wrapping up Act 3, like we should be getting those numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty meaty.
Somewhere. Yeah, if you listen to if you play just the first, it's kind of breaks down. It's pretty close to like 30-ish hours, depending on how long you get stuck on like combats or certain spots.
Oh, we're at 30 hours?
That's kind of where they're clocking in at.
Wow.
Okay.
They can zoom through a lot faster.
I've been saying
now.
20 plus this year, but I guess I'll upgrade that to a
honestly,
3-0.
It's closer to 30 at this point.
That's funny. Gina, is it mostly just like chat in the chat?
Oh,
or are there
yeah.
any questions?
Yeah. In our chat, we're mostly just chatting.
Okay.
They're having a
Lynn
side conversation.
Yeah, Lynn says we're really nailing the game's aesthetic, and it hooked her instantly.
There was another. I'm trying to think. What was the other question we were wanting to go over today, Gina?
Oh no, sorry. I opened up another tab on my computer, so that'll probably show up in our recording. That'll be fun. Here's one. If there was exactly enough time and budget to pluck one thing off the cutting room floor, what would you want to bring back?
Ooh, what?
Nothing's gonna be as brutal as Thor's question yesterday.
Oh yeah, no.
You know, from a dev
call your baby ugly. Yeah.
From a dev standpoint, it's definitely coming out of left field. From a player's perspective, it is definitely appreciated having an answer to that question.
Yeah. Or we can also go here. If there were a side character that you could make into a full companion, who would that be?
If there was a side character that I could make into a full companion, it would be Banger. So it is a character that's not in the demo, but when playing through and I finally, like the first time I got to the voice acting, like I'm just like, I want to see more of this character. Like it's just a very interesting personality. Definitely a criminal for sure. I don't know if it would make for a good companion for Gia, but definitely a character I want to see more of down the road.
I think this was a good question too. If you could give players one inside tip before they start the full game, what would it be?
Let's see. My first honest answer is turn the volume down. That's until we fix the main music setting. Let's giving a player. Go for it, Cody.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was gonna say I would pick a lane for your characters to follow. So I think a lot of players by default, especially with Gia's skill tree, are going to want to try and balance out the playing field a lot. And you'll see, like, I've done that here too because I can't help it. But you'll find a lot more success, especially in the short term, by like picking a lane like smarts, hustle, or brass, and like kind of devoting yourself to it, or at least like a tree, one of the branches in each tree, a little bit more, and then relying on your followers as you get them to fill out the missing gaps. So Cress, compared to Gia, has brass and smarts. So right now, early game, it makes more sense for me to kind of go down the hustle tree. But you'll get other characters who have hustle and other characters who have smarts and so on and so forth. So kind of pick one or two of the trees and kind of focus a lot of your efforts there. And then always make sure you have a follower who can help fill the gap in the tree that you're missing.
And can you explain like mechanically what that sort of does for the player?
Yeah, so mechanically what it does is you'll get abilities that just increase your modifier on specific dice rolls. So if you're making dice rolls for, you'll see I just had one for Phantom in the sequence that I just did. I don't have anything in there. So I actually end up losing 2 modifier because of my heat level. But had I put stuff into Phantom, I'd have extra bonuses all the way up to +4 for my Phantom rolls. And then they also will give you abilities in combat, whether they're active abilities like, say, evade here, or more passive ones where you'll get plus damage to specific weapon attacks, or you'll get like other bonuses that can affect either yourself or your party.
So if you and your companion spec into the same type of tree, it compounds on the roll, right? You get more points. Got it.
Yeah, so we were watching Dwayne, who was on last week's AMA.
That was overkill.
Dwayne had like something like a +12 to Brainiac checks, I believe, at the end of the game. So there was almost no way for him to fail certain rolls.
Gotcha.
Which is fine. Like, that's very, like, if you ever played like Dungeons and Dragons or any other TTB RPG, those are the kind of things you like. And it feels good when you get to that point where, like, aha, I have built myself out in such a way that, like, I can't possibly lose. And those are perfectly acceptable builds. Because usually they come off a trade-off. Like, Dwayne was really good in smarts, but he was awful in brass, if I recall, or maybe it was the other way around. And that was perfectly okay. It just means, like, some of those brass checks were real hard, and he failed quite a few of them.
Gotcha. Interesting. Josh, do you have a tip you'd want to give players before they dive into the full game?
Probably just it's more of a general tip for players on before they dive into the full game. What advice I'd give is just go into the settings and modify, like, yes, the sound, the music, but also going in just the combat and making sure that it suits your style of play, because we do have a lot of accessibility options and we plan on adding more. We want to make this very convenient and adaptable to the player and how they want to do the experience. So just check it off and make sure that the settings are how you want it to be, because we are making it available.
Yeah, like kind of play it the way you want to play it. We're like allowing them to do that.
Bayaro asked in chat, is Jack of all trades still a viable play style?
It is. For sure. You'll just,
especially with crew members.
Earlier in the game could possibly be more of a struggle in certain aspects. Not necessarily a struggle, it's not the way to put it, but like will pose more challenges on more rolls, because your how you're affected by heat will feel a little bit more drastic. And then you'll be like, as you get closer to the mid game or the end game, you'll have more bonuses in all of those different fields, and that will kind of present a boon, because like you'll never be caught off guard by the type of checks that you're going to run into. So very much a valid play style. But when you go Jack of all trades, as most players will know, games like this, it's a harder start but a stronger finish.
This was maybe more of a question for James potentially, but with the choice system, did we have like, because I wasn't really a part of any development stuff necessarily, did we have like a behind the scenes like tree where you could like very clearly see like, okay, you make this choice at this point in the game and it does this thing, or it, you know, branches off here and you kind of have this scenario or whatever? Like how did that sort of get designed with the, especially with all of the dice rolls, like, you know, factoring in the fact that you're going into the skill tree and you're speccing into things, and we knew it was going to impact stuff you were doing down the line.
So we do have diagrams for the narrative that visually showcase the different options and where those decisions are going to happen and where they are going to branch off and kind of what skill checks are going to be involved with that. Those were done pretty early on, and some of them weren't as updated as they should have been. So a lot of them were done kind of on the fly. Like, we just need a decision here,
Gotcha.
or this spot feels good to have a decision. So let's make a decision here and add some branching to add that flavor. So a lot of it was very much going through the storyline, and then after play testing, going back and adding points that just made sense.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense with game dev. You kind of have to be like flexible and just like,
well, because it's
feel
very
out the
feel
game.
based.
Yeah.
Like it's like at this point in the story, after playing through everything previously, and you can't really do this just looking at a blank piece of paper and then trying to imagine the experience. Like, after playing the experience with the combat and the music, and just how does it feel to, at this point in the story, for these things to be happening, and what is the player wanting to be doing at those points?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like we said, like it's like a 30-hour game is no joke in terms of testing and just figuring out how the pieces are gonna fit together. So it's interesting to see how, yeah, obviously a lot of it was planned and organized, but a lot of it is just having to test and just using the systems you have, see where you can like buff out the game to make it more interesting and not stagnant.
Definitely hand in hand. There was a lot planned beforehand as far as structure, direction, primary storyline, and then there was a lot of kind of ad hoc changes that went into it after we were able to play through it.
Nice.
And Nick, you said like it's 30 hours of gameplay, but that's 30 hours of making one choice. So, you know, when you're testing, you have to test every choice and every possibility. So do we have a tool for QA in order to, you know, sort of force this choice or that choice so that they can test every single path?
Yes and no. There are debug tools, but when you're testing a game with a lot of complexity from branching or conditionals or anything else like that, it's easy to miss certain things that you might need later in the game to properly test certain conditions or branches or like paths you can follow. So oftentimes what will happen is we'll have test plans that kind of outline kind of the major or necessary kind of decision points that we have based off of those diagrams and flowcharts that Josh was talking about earlier, where we'll basically pre-construct an intended playthrough so that we can get coverage. I don't know what the amount of permutations in this game is, but sorry, I'm gonna put my dog on the floor. It's probably fairly high. I can speak from my experience at other studios and similar games or similar kind of complex narrative games, where the amount of permutations and like possible playthroughs you can run into kind of quickly escalate into the hundreds of thousands or millions. Like Dragon Age 2, which I was a narrative kind of test coordinator on, so making a lot of test plans specifically to test narrative systems like branching, had something like 2.4 million possible playthrough options based off of either your choices in the core game itself or choices you would input.
And that's every possible variation, right?
Yeah, or like choices you would import from like Dragon Age Origins and then your choices through the game. There were like 2.4 million different options you had because we kind of mathed it out. And there's no way that you can possibly test all of that. So what you really need to focus on is kind of your major choices and how that has a major impact on your game. And then the other thing you have to also recognize is that no matter how many testers you bring on board to QA a game, is within hours of a game releasing, you've already quadrupled the amount of testing that's happened on the game throughout its entire life. And we have to be paying attention to that player feedback so that if we are finding issues with like how some branches are reacting or they're not reacting properly based off of like certain things aren't firing the way they should be, that we have to go in there and then do some post-launch support, which is always on the plan. So
I mean, when you have a game and you go from either 10 testers or 30 testers, 50 testers to 10, 20, 30, even 100,000 players, that's extensive testing that never even happened on the game or could have happened.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. And there's we talked about the multi-genre thing before, but it's like there's so many elements to the game between the choices, and then the combat system alone is so different from I would call it like the main portion of the narrative RPG kind of stuff. Like it's like a whole other game to test. You know what I mean? Like if you're
very much so.
Yeah, like if you're making like a third person action game and you have a character and the character can do a limited number of moves or something like that, like obviously there's things that can happen with that, but you're still kind of focusing like on one thematic thing to test, I guess. Whereas in this game, it's like you're testing like even just the equipping the cars is like its own other little mini game, and the inventory system is a little mini game in itself as well. I remember there's that one, if it's okay to talk about this one bug where if you got too many what were they, like extension, what do you call them, like extensions to your car, like where you could put more stuff in them, what is the word, like storage.
No.
Yeah.
Upgrade.
Yeah, there was like extra storage that you could add. If you added too many, it would like go past the panel that we allocated, right, to have storage. So there's like weird stuff like that comes up that you don't really think about.
I think for a future AMA, we should definitely touch on like favorite bugs that we've seen in the game. Like
yeah.
I've been in some of the QA meetings, and some of those are just golden.
My favorites are like when character model or character sprites in the conversations get replaced with something else, or
like Fear 6 being everywhere in the game.
Yep. Or there's a certain sequence in kind of the middle of the game where you're trying to find like an office space for something, and you have to talk to like a guard that's standing outside of it. And then once you kind of figure out how to get into it, what's supposed to happen is like the guard is supposed to move, or someone else is supposed to show up. But instead of that, it's a miniature version of the building that you're in from the outside takes its place, and it's like slightly askew even. So it's just like, oh, I found the office, and it's just like the building, and it's like in the place of a person just standing on like a stairwell, and it's visually, it looks fantastic. And I think once the game comes out, we'll definitely share some of those, because some of them take place way later in the game. We don't want to get into kind of spoilers and other stuff like that, but
so there was an intentional bug that was, I don't know actually who added it, but there was it was at the wind skipping scene when you find the when you're naming the vehicle, and it was at that time where you have the dialogue and you have the conversation with Gia, Nelly, and then all of a sudden your car comes into the chat, like as the sprite to the side, and has a Herbie moment of going vroom vroom in response to something Gia said.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we should definitely dive into some more of those, because I've even seen some funny ones too that we can touch on that I know have been fixed since I've found them. But cool. I think we're at the hour. That was a fun kind of different conversation. But yeah, for anyone that's watching this later on YouTube, just know that you can hop into our Discord and join us live. We have a couple people in chat right now that have been hanging out. Feel free to ask us questions. Go play the demo and wishlist the game, because that helps out a lot as well. And yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to have one of these next week, just because of the holidays and stuff, but just keep an ear out on our socials and Discord to see when we're going to host the next one. So yeah. Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks
Cheers,
everyone for
everybody.
joining, and we will see you guys
Yeah.
later.
Thanks for coming. Happy holidays.
Bye, guys.